April 22nd. In about 1002 BC, at age 37, 7 years after being crowned king of Judah, David is crowned king over all Israel. God's promise to him years earlier as a boy through the prophet Samuel is fulfilled. In response to the news, the Philistines, Israel's archenemy, knowing that David's rule over all Israel could pose a mortal threat, strategically moves its troops, not to conquer Israel's army, but to capture David. David, of course, inquires of the Lord before he does anything, and God shows him how to respond. David obeys, and Israel routs the Philistines. As a result of David's long history of cooperation with God, his willingness to let God orchestrate events of the last 20 years, and his willingness to wait on God to follow through with his own purposes, something very unusual happens. David is made king by acclamation. 1 Chronicles 12:38 explains that about 300,000 men from all 12 tribes of Israel, dressed in full battle array, traveled to Hebron for one reason: to ask David to be their king. Throughout history, it is extremely rare to find anything like this. We are told of two very significant events resulting from this acclamation. We read that there was great joy throughout the land of Israel, and in 1 Chronicles 14:17 that the fame of David went out into all lands, and Yahweh brought the fear of him on all nations. As we've seen in previous readings, David's patient ascension to the throne is a case study in obedience. Yes, he obeyed God, but he didn't just obey God, he pursued God. His obedience was a result of his authentic desire to experience God's smile upon him. He knew that to be in God's presence, to be in relationship with God, was the key to everything else in his life. This was his motivation, and this is why God called him a man after his own heart. Here's today's application. Do you enjoy your relationship with God? Do you feel God's smile upon you? Are you enjoying his presence? Do you know the peace of God that passes all understanding? The peace that can be with you even when everything seems to be spinning out of control. You can know this peace and walk in it every day. Pursue him today by getting into the Word. His Word, the Bible, is your spiritual food. Devour it and apply it, and it will bring you into intimacy with God. Now here's today's prayer.